Hi, Bev, and hi, Crystal. How are you?
Good, and yourself?
Good, good.
Good. Perfecto. So Priyanka, tell us a little bit about yourself. How long have you been in the industry for?
I got my license in 2019,
Okay.
and I joined a local brokerage, a boutique brokerage. I did door knocking. I did sphere of influence. So a couple of years I did okay. Um, and then COVID happened, and my sphere of influence exhausted, door knocking not possible. So I switched to online brokerages, couple of them, but it's not working out. So I learned about Agent Locator and I thought, okay, let me try this one. And I joined Agent Locator in March of this year.
Okay.
And I've not been able to convert anything. Um, I mean, I won't blame everything to the leads or the system. I'm not good at follow up. I try and make calls, but I don't do it consistently. So that's the part of the reason it's not working, and partly people are not prepared. They are panic mode, or they just want to keep looking. All sorts of reasons.
Perfect. Awesome. So it sounds like you're trying and you're acknowledging the fact that there is a little bit more that can be done on your end for not
sure.
calling all of our leads and what have you.
Mm-hmm.
Beverly, did you get my email?
I did. I'm plugging it all in right now. And I'm going to need a code from you. So Priyanka, if you could look at your phone and see if you got a text.
Yes, I did.
What is it?
So it's 4793.
And really, Priyanka, at first glance at your system, you're not like too far behind. So you're keeping up for the most part. It's continuously calling those leads after the first call attempt, and I'm seeing there's a bunch of leads in that bucket.
Uh-huh.
And then you do have some when you're made contact that it's more of categorizing them into, what you should be doing now. How often should be following up with these individuals based on our conversation, right?
That's right. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So I initially I had rental campaign also, but I have switched on to buyers now because rentals are, I have tried to work with the rentals, but they are not ready to share any information, and without any paperwork, anything, I don't find it. I have this principle in the business I do. Whatever rentals I have done in the past, I have to have all the paperwork, only then I'm going to show it to them. First, it's sometimes a safety concern for me. And second is that if I am in touch with the listing agent, they would like to know who are you going to show the property, and are they, do they really qualified candidates, especially for renting? So that's why I stopped the rental campaign, because I don't find people are very accommodating in sharing the information.
So what is your most important goal to take away from today?
A great mindset to call and follow up the leads, and a system and a time, like time blocking. How should I do my time blocking in the mornings and the evenings? And what is the frequency of calling and following up with those clients? Yeah, that's the main thing I would like to take away today.
So do you want the good news or the bad news?
What's the bad one?
What's the bad news? You have to follow through with what you take away from today.
Okay.
And I say that lightly because it's bad news, because it's always exciting to learn new things and to think creatively and to know how much potential is there. But on that caveat side is, okay, now I have to follow through.
Yeah.
And the question that you want to ask yourself right now, Priyanka, is what is the objection to yourself that you run into that prevents you from doing it? The easy answer is time. But I want you to really think about that question before you answer it and really discover you already know what to do. You already said you weren't doing, and that's what you need to do. So I'm not really sold on the fact that you need to learn anything more. What is really keeping you and preventing you from doing what you know you need to do?
Okay, so I normally do calling 10 to 12 and 5 to 7. That's the time I have seen in the past. I get to talk to people at that time.
Okay.
Mornings, most of the time I'm able to do because my kids are at school. 5 to 7, it's the evening time when they're back to from school and they're all over me. So that is the time I struggle. I try and work on around those hours, keeping them busy somewhere, but it's not working. But the good news is I have their grandparents here, and they said we are going to take over the kids in the evening time. They will be living with us, and you can focus on what you are working on. So now onwards, because they just came from India last week and they kind of settled now, and I think I should be able to focus 2 hours in the evening for calling now onwards.
So now, do you want the good news?
Yes.
With the amount of leads that you have in your system, you should not be working it really, in my opinion, any more than 30 hours or 30 hours, 30 minutes a day.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
We tend to overcomplicate, and our brain only can really function by the amount of time that we're spending in our business to validate the reward that we receive from it. So we always think that we have to be working 24/7 every waking hour in order to earn the money. But we really don't. You're meant to create your life right now and design it the way you want to design it. So if it's a struggle for you to work in the evenings, there comes a point in our life where, does it have to be really, really hard and that difficult to gain success? Or can I really enjoy my life and gain success? So let's just take away the 2 hours from 10 to 12 and the 2 hours from 5 to 7 and say 15, 20 minutes in the morning and 10 minutes in the evening. Because that's all going to be about scheduling, right? Because when you look at leads, not so much from the perspective of, I have to sit down at the opportune time to get a hold of them. But the better way to be thinking about it is, the more consistent I am with attempted repeats, the better my outcome is going to be. And when we go into the system and we're dialing 23 seconds a lead, approximately 4 rings, and you're creating more callbacks, you're maximizing your time and working harder, or working smarter, not harder. So the consistency is where the value is to control your time. Because right now, this is the honest to God's truth, you have 103 leads in your system. I could dial every single one of your leads in less than 3 hours. So for you to think that you have to spend 4 hours a day working on whatever in one capacity, you could break that up into multiple ways of lead generation. You could be out networking, you could be out doing the things that you love to do, and just spending a few minutes on your highest priority leads and scheduling your evenings. Like, okay, Wednesday evenings is the evening that they're going to be able to take my kids. That's my night that I want to work my database. And then you set all of your reminders that need to be in the evening for Wednesdays.
Okay.
Now, if you had 1,003 leads, I might be talking to you a little bit differently, but act as if. When you start working it out of the gate at 103 leads, you start developing that habit and that pattern, that you're staying consistent, that it's not going to take you any more time on on the lead generation, because you're going to be increasing your time on the conversations you've had with the people you're following up with. That's the only time your time's going to go to be more of what you're spending in your database, because of the conversations that you're having and the nurture and the follow-up that you're doing. So the good news is now I could literally, today's Wednesday. You should, if I tell you how to focus on your highest priority leads and organize your dashboard, you should be done by Friday afternoon.
Yeah. That would be great.
Working maybe an hour or two a day.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So let's not overcomplicate it. So what I did is I wanted to see how many leads you have in the status of not set, new lead, or tried to contact. So let me share my screen here right quick. So you have 103 leads. 56 of them are in the not set, new lead, or tried to contact, which tells me there are 56 leads in here that you have not yet spoken to.
Okay.
The other,
that means I have tried to call,
yep,
but could not get hold of them, right?
Sure.
Okay.
And this is going to be the majority of your database, because not everybody does answer the phone. So when you look at your database, I love 103 leads, because this makes it really simple to break down and understand for any size dashboard. Because when I'm going in, I'm analyzing and going, okay, what's going on here? Out of 103 leads, 56 you haven't gotten a hold of. It tells me two things. One, you're not consistent enough to get a hold of the people. And two, you haven't had enough conversations. That's it. So I want to know where the other leads are. So when you look at the pipeline status and we take these out, where's the rest of them? And I'm just going to go and look at the make contact. So now we were at what? We said there was 56. Now let's see how many are in contacted. 41. That tells me you've had 41 conversations out of 103 people. Okay. When you have conversations, these 41 people go basically, in my opinion, that they go to like the Y in the road. So you're coming down, you have a conversation, like, ooh, this leads quality. They deserve time on my calendar, and they've qualified for my time to nurture, because if I do everything I need to do, I'm going to be sitting at the settlement table with them. The other path is they have bad credit, they're waiting on a down payment, they have an agent, they're possibly relocating, they're thinking about retirement, right? All those reasons of why we don't need to be touching them very often, because we just categorize them. So if you take 41 of these people, and that Pareto principle of 80-20, 20% of everything is always the 80%, right? So if you take 20% of 41, you're at 2, 4, 6, 8. You should have a minimum of 8 qualified leads that deserve your time, that are in your pipeline of future business. Okay. So where the importance is out of these 41, where do they qualify? Do they get on your calendar for a reminder, or do they get tagged to put them on the store shelf to shop them later? What is their situation? Now, AgentLocator does automatically move leads to a made contact status if they call back or if they reply to a text.
Priyanka has turned off the text feature.
The text feature is off?
Her leads will not automatically move to made contact if they reply to a text. So she leaves them on tried to contact. Yeah.
So Priyanka, out of these 41, do you feel that they are properly moved into the make contact status, that you did have conversations with every single one of these people?
I believe so. Yeah.
And when you're looking at your priority lead, as far as, do you have anybody that is in that nurture follow up that you had a really good conversation with that you need to follow up and touch base with?
Okay, let me just check that. So these leads will have those people also who have unsubscribed or wrong numbers, or all those people also, because Donna, she has unsubscribed.
Okay, that's
But
okay.
okay. So that's what I'm trying to understand is
So there
this is
shouldn't be anybody in here with a bad phone number, because you really can't make
Mhm.
contact with anybody if they have a bad phone number.
okay, but they will be people who have unsubscribed, right?
Possibly, yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Uh,
I don't even look at unsubscribe as being an option with my leads. I don't care if they did or they didn't. Unless they are unsubscribed with a bad phone number and a bad email, then I'm like, I got nothing.
okay.
But unsubscribing to me just means we were sending them the right things at the right time. That's it.
Mhm.
It's still of importance for us to understand, where are these 41 people in the process, and
Mhm.
how can you fit into that process, whether they want to buy today, tomorrow, next week, next year.
Mhm.
Where do you come in to be the expert to guide them through the process?
Okay.
So in our conversations, that's the number one thing that we're looking for is, what is the perfect timing for you, and how do you see us working together? How can I fit into that? What can I do to earn your business? What can I be
Mhm.
giving you in the meantime until it is that right time? So if you look at your calendar, Priyanka,
Mhm.
and you look at these 41 leads, you have a potential of 8 settlements that are coming up in the near future. We just don't know when that is.
Mhm.
So the importance of finding out their opportune time and what you can do in that time answers that question of, what do I say when I follow up? How often do I follow up? What should I do to follow up with these leads that aren't ready yet?
Mhm.
We ask them,
Okay.
Ollie, what can I do for you? You may be a year out, but what can I do for you over the course of the next year? What are your expectations and what you would get from an agent? And they're
Mhm.
probably going to say, well, I really don't know. Well, when would make the most sense for me to check back in with you and just talk to you about the market, just update you on what's going on? How
Mhm.
about next month? Great. It makes that follow up much easier, because now you've had that conversation and now they're expecting it. So it holds you a little bit more accountable.
Right. Okay.
So if you really want to create business over the next months, in my opinion, it's imperative to go through the 41 make contact and just do 5 or 10 a day. You don't have to go through all 41 today, but if you're an overachiever, do all 41 today.
Okay.
And you can break them down into priority.
Mhm.
And this is where the tags are so vitally important, because what I'm seeing, let me see. Can we tell activity? Can we tell from here if there's, I don't know where the reminder thing is, because I thought it used to show that there was a reminder set.
Task. Yeah, they used to have the task thing there. It doesn't have that anymore. Have you been using tasks, Priyanka, or how are you reminding yourself to follow up with these individuals?
Yes, I use tasks to remind about the follow-ups. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, they removed that column. So you could either go to the calendar or.
So that, well, I'm going to go this tasks. Can I say no task set, close, no task never created? So you have 41 leads here.
You're going to select something, I think. No? Oh,
well, so there's 6 leads that should be tagged. If there's never been a task created and you contacted them, they should have a tag. Because if not, these are the people that get lost, because there's nothing there to define them on the shelf of the grocery store. They're the Oreos that are tucked in the aisle of the laundry detergent.
Okay. Yeah.
right? And then, oh God, we got to open them up and look for the notes because there's not even a tag applied to them. So we have no idea what's going on with these few people. So I would go back and read that note and listen to that conversation and properly place them. And
Okay.
actually, that was just, you probably remember, that was just yesterday.
What's the name of the lead?
Ollie.
Okay. He's a rental lead. Yeah.
Okay.
So I've sent him the rental package, all the documents required, and he will be looking to rent in September.
Okay. So renting. Done. You've now put him on the shelf of the grocery store. You don't have to pay attention to him anymore. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I would be reaching out with him like every couple of weeks.
So
Yeah,
is
if you're going to work with him as a renter.
Mhm.
Yep.
So is it possible that the lead is looking to rent, but they register as a buyer?
Well,
Yeah.
it's asking those questions, right, Priyanka? It's so
Yes.
what makes you want to rent something versus a purchase?
So when I saw the in more details what houses he was looking all the the houses for sale,
Of course.
and he registered as a buyer. But when I
Of course.
called him, he told that I'm looking to rent.
So have you ever been to a high-end retail store?
Sorry, which store?
A high-end retail store.
Yes.
And you almost felt like you couldn't afford to walk through the retail store?
Yes.
But you look, right? You're like,
Yes, I
ooh,
do.
yeah. And it feels good to look, doesn't it? You're like, ooh, someday.
It's like going to Holt Renfrew and, paying $600 for a pair of track pants. You look at it and then you feel like, oh my gosh, but then people are like legitimately shopping and you feel so out of place.
Yeah.
That's how people view homes online.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right? We can't prejudge them because we do it ourselves, just in a different capacity.
Right.
So
right.
it's finding out if you really had your eyes on that Gucci purse and you really wanted to have a Gucci purse, and that salesperson come over to you and said, did you want to try it on? Did you want to like hold it and like walk around with it and look in the mirror? You're like, yeah. You're not going to say I can't afford it, are you? Well, some people might be that cool, but most people are very embarrassed to say, well, I'm just window shopping because I'm not going to have the capacity for a very long time to have this purse. What if that sales clerk said to you, what can we do to make it happen for you to own this purse? You'd be like, huh? Well, if we broke it down in payments, and what do you do for a living? So how much money do you have to make over the next 6 months to be able to afford this purse? Let's just talk about a little bit of a splurge for you. If we broke this purse out into the payments and you did make that X amount of money in 6 months, would you buy the Gucci purse? Yeah. Now we have a plan. So it's the same way with talking to renters. What do they need to do to move themselves into home ownership? Because aren't they going to be paying more in a rental payment than they would a mortgage payment?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's all our job is. It's not to try and make them a buyer. It's to try and walk them through the process of how they can become a buyer if they want to become a buyer. Maybe they don't want to be a buyer because they're only going to be in that area for 2 years and they don't think it's going to be right for them to buy in a high market to have to jump ship and move. But that even warrants some discovery. Well, what if you would buy in 2 years and the market continued to improve? You get tax credit for 2 years. You can sell it with some equity, or you can maybe even rent it out. What does that look like? So it's looking at every single situation with an opportunity mindset. Instead of, I'm trying to make you a buyer, I don't know what to do. You're looking at homes that are for sale, but you say you want to rent. I don't understand.
There's a dream in behind that searching and looking, the hope.
Yeah. And when we come from that place of problem solving, it creates more of an opportunity, because sometimes we can come with a perspective that that buyer never even thought about.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I get that, definitely. How do you do it with such an ease, Bev?
It's, you know, it's been a lot of years. I'm not going to take that away. I've been doing it for a very, very long time, but learning what I've learned about asking questions, it's truly putting yourself in that person's shoes. And I'm looking at rentals. Well, why are you looking at rentals? And really feeling what they're saying. And then just asking that question, well, if you could make a purchase, is that something that you would want to do?
Mm-hmm.
And it's always that, if you could, if it were, if it would be, just think about that Gucci purse, or think about whatever it is that your heart desires that you can't yet tangibly purchase at this moment. But with the right plan and the right choices, you'll be able to. So when we're coming at that conversation with our leads on what is your dream, what would you like to do? And just like I asked you, do you want the bad news or the good news? Bad news is you got to follow through, right? There is no difference, Priyanka, in a renter that is challenged with credit that's preventing them from making a purchase, and us having the conversation with them to know exactly what to do to get in alignment with their credit score and get in alignment with their savings to have money down. It's a 6 to 8 month process, maybe sometimes a year, depending on how jacked their credit is. But the same thing applies to us picking up the phone and having conversations with these leads. It's just like having that opportunity to make that purchase. We have that opportunity to create business. But are we paying our bills? Are we doing everything that we need to do to improve our credit score? And calling leads, right? Are we making our phone calls? Are we having our conversations? Are we having our conversations the right way?
Sometimes I think when I ask question, I don't know. I mean, are these other people, because I don't know them, and they may not be able to share all those things. Is it like I'm breaching the privacy, or I'm asking too much questions? Like, I don't know. Like, you ask it so so easily without hurting the other person, that okay, she's trying to extract some information, why should I give the information? But you ask it so effortlessly that I share it with you. So it's not like, when I ask question, I think, why am I asking questions? Like, so that is the reason I'm not able to assess the situation completely, and that's the reason I don't know where I'll be able to help them. So that is sometime a thing. I don't know how much to ask, and what tone to ask, and when to step back. I don't know that.
So let me tell you how easily difficult this is to solve. I know that was like an oxymoronic statement, but it's so easy, it's difficult. The only difference in my questions, Priyanka, I have zero attachment to the outcome. I don't care if they're going to buy with me. I don't care if they're never going to buy. I don't care if they're renting. I don't care if they're homeless, destitute. I don't care. All I'm looking to do is to uncover what it is they want. And if I have the solution, great. If I don't, next.
Is it that easy?
It's that easy. It's difficult because we overthink it, because we are attached to the outcome of, I'm spending X amount of money on Agent Locator. Nobody's answering their phone. I don't have enough deals on the table. I need money in my bank account. The market's really tough right now. Everybody's writing contracts and losing. Everything's really difficult. I got to sit down and call my leads so that I can create business. We are immediately attached to the outcome because we think effort is going to automatically produce the reward. But the question is, what's the reward? We think the reward is the conversion that gets somebody in the car that gets the contract written. But the real reward is how much we're investing into people to educate them in the process, no matter when they're going to make that purchase. So when I'm calling leads and I'm having conversations, it's like I'm talking to my best friend and truly wanting to help her because she's in a bad situation. She's heeding my advice. And I was thinking, whenever you were talking about feeling like you are being, it was a whole privacy thing, right? You feel like you're asking too many questions, and it's kind of breaking that barrier of that privacy factor. And all I kept thinking about, because my fiance is going through a lot of medical BS right now. And, you know, when you were talking about that, I was sitting there thinking the different doctors and the different conversations that we can have with doctors. You can have a doctor that truly cares and asks all the questions to really be able to diagnose properly. But then you have doctors that just talk, don't ask the questions, and then won't diagnose because they're like, well, you know, that's not my area of expertise. I really can't share that. Which doctor do you want?
The first one for sure, but you find mostly the second ones.
Yeah. Which, welcome to real estate. Oh, right? Because, you know, Allie's going to say, well, you know, I'm just looking for that needle in a haystack. You know, I'll know it when I find it. Okay, well, give me a call. Click. That's all the second doctors. That's all the doctors that are too afraid to diagnose and that aren't going to talk to you and say, let's order a test. But you want to be that doctor that's asking the questions. Well, if you were going to make a move, what would that look like? So all you're showing is that compassion and that caring. And when you watch me ask those questions, that's what you're feeling. You're not feeling any attachment to the outcome. You're just, wow. Because it's about the conversation, not the outcome. Because we can't control the outcome anyway. All we can control is the conversation that's happening up to.
Right.
And that's all it is, Priyanka, is that mind shift, right? And I will tell you this. I have not been in production since 2016. But I remember very clearly all those people that I spent hours with, days with, multiple miles on my car, multiple gas tanks, and boof, they go away. It's so easy for me to sit here and say, don't be attached to the outcome, because I thoroughly love making the phone calls and talking to people. I do not enjoy going out with them. My high is over once I have that, once I've created that relationship. So I say that because it's very difficult to not be attached to the outcome. And we have to almost rewind to why you started real estate in the first place. Because every single one of us got a license and had a completely different idea of what our career would look like.
Yeah.
Most people get into real estate for the free time, for the unlimited amount of money, right? And not to mention, it doesn't break the bank to start a business. But real estate is completely not that. When we get in it, we're like, holy shit, this isn't easy.
No.
And we forget why we started in the first place. because then it becomes a job. It's no longer fun. Now it's become a job.
Mm-hmm.
So it's figuring out how to make it fun again. How can you enjoy and breathe life back into what you're doing with the conversations that you're having?
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So
Yeah.
share back with me where you're at right now. And we still have 20 minutes left. So I want to share with you what's going to be most important for you to be able to take away from today.
So the first thing is the time blocking and make a schedule for the day and for the week. Like when I get up in the morning, this is what I have to do. If I know what I have to do, I'm done for the day. That's the first thing I want.
Have you ever worked these filters, Priyanka?
First, second, only the first two.
Okay. So these are completely designed for you to always be touching your highest priority leads.
Okay.
Staying consistent is going to keep the leads out of this bucket. So if you've been working, these are probably going to be low. Yay, 0, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm just going through my checklist. Ooh, I got 32.
That
Now,
ones are actually totally different. Give me 1 second, because that I can just see the first filter is if you change that first filter where it's equal to or less than 6. No.
no, what?
Go back. Go back.
To the second one?
Yeah, where the calls are equal to or less than 6.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Change it to equal to or greater than 1. So just change the middle one to equal to or greater than. Nope, greater than.
Oh, sorry.
Okay.
That one, right? Greater than.
Yeah. And then change that to a 1. And
Mhm.
then
Update.
you can just update it. It might be the same amount because the number 1's empty, but so now we're at 34. So these are all the leads where she's tried calling them at least 1 time.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the way this filter's set, if you discover a bad phone number, the lead's going to come out. So you have to move it to a bad phone number status, and that lead's going to come out.
Okay.
If you have a conversation with them and move the status to make contact, the lead's going to come out.
Okay.
So if you call all 34 today, it's going to be 0. But what's going to happen in 2 days, they're going to pop back in here again because was not contacted by phone within 2 days.
So now what is the frequency of calling them? Like,
What's the what?
so what's the frequency
Frequency?
of like calling them again now? Now I have to set task and they won't come back in this.
No, ma'am.
No?
So these
No.
filters right here, it's called dynamic. And that's what I'm saying. If I call Diana right now, she's automatically going to come out of the filter because this right here, she was contacted by phone within the last 2 days. So as soon as you make a phone call, no matter what happens, she's going to fall out of the filter.
And then if you don't talk to her, she'll come back in 2 days for
In
you
2
to try
days.
again.
Oh,
So it
But
just keeps populating for you. So you just have to go through your list, check it every day, and just hammer out that list, hammer out the list.
and I don't have to set up a task to
No.
call them again in 2 days?
the
Nope.
only task you should ever set are the people that qualify for time on your calendar.
Oh, okay.
Because what
Okay.
happens is we task everything because we don't want to forget anything, and then we end up doing nothing because then we
That-
lose priority because all of our leads become tasks.
Yeah, that's so true. I get lost in that. So suppose I call Diana and she doesn't pick up today. So automatically she will be coming back here
In 2
after
days.
2 days, right?
Yep. Yep.
Okay.
Yep. And so the other two things, because it's dynamic, these leads move based on what we're doing in the system. So do you see this here? Phone validity is unknown valid.
Mm-hmm.
If I change Diana to a different, to a bad number,
Mm-hmm. She won't be here.
she won't come back in 2 days.
Mm-hmm.
If I change Diana out of tried to contact and into any pipeline stage above that, she's not going to come back in 2 days.
Okay.
So what's going to happen out of these 34 leads? I can guarantee you that if I called through all 34 right now, I would have at least 5 conversations that I could guarantee I'd have 5 conversations right now. And
Okay.
that's going on the low end.
Mhm.
So if I have 5 conversations, that takes it down to 29 people.
Mhm.
I only have 29 people coming back.
Right.
So the more consistent you are, the less leads are in here, which is why I say you only have to work this a half hour a day.
So the next question is, so if I do it like in the morning time and in the evening time, so do you think I should be making calls in the afternoon also?
Beautiful
Or like,
question. Beautiful question. So I'm going to take you back to the day in life of Priyanka.
Mhm.
When you wake up in the morning, do you have a scheduled morning that you do the same things from the time that you wake up to the time that you start to work?
Yes,
And what time do you wake up and what time do you start work?
I wake up at 6 and I start work at 9:30.
So if I call you within that 3 hours from 6 to 9, more than likely it's not a good time for you to answer the phone because you're going through your routine, correct?
Yes, yeah.
So if I sit down at the computer every day between 6 to 9 and I'm calling all my leads every day, but you
Mhm.
have a routine, I'm never ever going to get a hold of you.
That's true.
Right? So yes, we need to make our schedule work for us, but yet we also have to be smart with when we are reaching out to the leads. So the more you can be in different time blocks every 2 days, the
Mhm.
more you're going to be increasing your chances of a conversation. Okay, today I call you between, let's say 8:30, I call you 8:30 in the morning and you don't answer the phone. Tomorrow, what do you do between 12 and 3 during your days? And do I have a better chance of you answering the phone between 12 and 3?
Yes.
So today I sit down and I call you at 12:30. So yesterday I didn't get a hold of you because it was a bad time, but today it was a good time. Now, other people, it may be a bad time from 4 to 6. They're picking up kids from school, they have sports activities, they got dinner. So the more we change our time frames every 2 days, when we're calling these leads, the more we're going to increase because it's all about how many conversations can we have? Because the more conversations you have, that's what's going to lead to filling your pipeline. Without the conversations, we can't fill our pipeline.
So that means we are in basically calling throughout like 2 to 3 time blocks from 10 to 6, right?
Yeah. I would call whatever's convenient for you, right? Like I would sit down. I love first thing in the morning. That's my favorite time. 8 o'clock, I get a hold of more people than ever.
Really?
Absolutely. And people are nicer in the morning because they're fresh. Their day hasn't gotten a hold of them yet. Nothing's happened.
But they don't pick up the phone, right?
Okay, when you say they, Priyanka, are we talking about a specific lead? Or are we talking about every single, all 34 of these leads?
No. I'm just generally talking about a general, like people are pretty busy dropping off kids, doing breakfast and all those things. So, I mean, I've not tried at all at any time at 8 o'clock in the morning, but that I am assuming like if somebody gives me a call, I'm too busy at that time. If I'm not able to pick up, how I can expect them to do the thing?
Because their schedule is not your schedule. And they're not going to answer the phone if it's not a good time. And woohoo, 23 seconds next, 23 seconds next, 23. I got through that list in 10 minutes.
Okay. And then you don't set up a task if you don't get hold of the lead. It automatically is come in the system, right?
Only time a lead gets a task is if you've qualified for time on my calendar and I have a 70% chance or more of sitting at the settlement table with you.
Okay, got it. Okay, so if you can call somebody, say 10 o'clock today and don't get a hold, you'll call like 2 days later, 5 o'clock in the evening, right? That's the way it should be.
So you don't have to think about that specific person. Let's say these 34 leads. Let's say these 34 leads. It is 1:46 on my time right now. Let's say you call them when we get out of this webinar. You call all 34 of these from 2 to 3 today.
Okay.
In 2 days, call them at 8 in the morning. Call them at 10 in the morning. Call them at 6 in the evening.
Okay. Got
And
it.
all you need to do, this is the beauty, right? Whenever you come in here, all right, it doesn't show you what time you called, but it's going to tell you how many days it's been. And then all you need to do is look at that first lead and get an idea of what time you called them and go,
Mhm.
I should call another list today. I should call another list right now. I'll wait another hour. Or I'll wait and call that list tomorrow morning, or I'll wait and call that list tonight. Just because it pops up in your list today doesn't mean you have to call it today. If you're like,
Right.
oh, I just called them yesterday morning and I'm in here, it's convenient this morning, I'm just going to wait and call them in 2 days in the morning.
Okay. Got
Right?
it.
Just kind of
Mhm.
gauge your time frame of when you're reaching out with them and just change it up.
Mhm.
And that's why sometimes, if you call through all 34, who you don't move out of here is going to come back in 2 days, and it makes it easy to know,
Mhm.
because then you're just on a schedule. Because as leads are coming in to this list, you're just on a
Mhm.
routine then. You don't have to
Right.
think about it.
Okay. Okay. Got it. So
But I
have.
promise you, this list, is there any registration date? Did they fall out of here based on?
No, but that list there, if she's consistent, most are going to answer by the 6 to 8 call attempt anyway, right? So it's, if you're just consistently going in there, we didn't do it on registration. Sometimes we'll do it based on activity if they've got like a slew of people in there. But yeah, typically if she's consistent, she's going to get a hold of most of them. If not, they're going to go into her number 4.
This one. Yep.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. And so you don't have anybody in here because you haven't made that many phone call attempts.
Mm-hmm.
No, I
So-
did make any phone call attempts, but they never answered. And then he emailed that please take me, like, don't send me more emails, right? So I called him like quite many times, but he never answered.
So this is my favorite story, and it's a great opportunity to bring it up again because I tell it often.
Mhm.
We had a lead come in our system in May. This was years ago.
Mhm.
And our rule was 10 to 12 attempts in the first 2 weeks. So 10 to 12 phone calls in the first 2 weeks. And then our other rule is we reach out once a week via phone call if you are actively engaged with the emails and looking at the listings that are being sent to you.
Mhm.
My agent called me in November and she says, Beverly, I had a lead call me back. And I said, okay, well, that happens once in a while. And she goes, you don't understand. She says, I've been calling him since May. Now, based on your call patterns and based on how you're working your database, how many phone calls do you think we had into this gentleman from May to November?
You said like 12 phone calls. No, I didn't get the
In
number.
the first 2 weeks.
In
And then
first
as
2
long as they were actively engaged, opening the emails and looking at the listings, we called once a week.
So 6 months, 24 weeks, and once a week, like 24 calls.
It was 74.
Okay.
He never answered the phone, Priyanka.
But he was consistently looking at the emails, right?
He
Yes.
called us in November and said to my agent, you have been trying to get a hold of me for so long. I really appreciate and respect your consistency.
Mhm.
I can't even imagine what kind of an agent you would be when you meet me. We want you as our agent. We're not moving until March, April. We have a home to sell. We already have an agent for our home to sell. It's out of the area.
Mhm.
But we were down driving in the area and I felt like I owed you a phone call. They met for lunch in November.
Mhm.
And she closed him in March, 450,000, and we were in a $200,000 market.
Wow.
74 phone calls. So don't tell me nobody ever answers the phone. It's
Mm.
all about hitting people at that right opportune time. Have you ever answered the phone, Priyanka, and you're like, oh my God, I was just thinking about you. I can't believe I answered the phone.
Yeah. Yeah.
You are never going to position yourself to be in the right place at the right time if we're not consistently making our phone calls and doing it all the time. Because you never know. I can't even tell you sometimes, like my phone rings, I don't answer it 90% of the time. But the one a few times I do answer it, I'm like, oh shit, I'm glad I answered that.
Right.
Right?
Right.
People just don't know why they do what they do sometimes. And it's just one of those like opportune moments that it was just meant to be, but we never put ourselves in a position if we're not consistently. If we're telling the story that nobody answers their phone, nobody's gonna answer the phone. But it's really truly about getting them at the right time.
But if somebody said, okay, they don't answer the phone call and they said, don't send me any email. So what should be the best? Should we stop
Keep calling
calling
them.
and emailing?
Keep calling them.
Keep calling? Okay.
I don't care if they don't answer my emails. I don't care if they unsubscribe. I want to know
Okay.
where you are in the process. And if you hang up on me, I'm gonna keep calling you back. And I had one lady, one of my favorite hang up stories, she hung up on me 6 times. I'm looking at my notes, hung up, hung up, hung up, hung up. But she answered all the time. So this one particular day, I was, being a little sassy, and I'm like, hey, don't hang up on me. I'm just trying to see if you're looking at buying a home. She's like, oh my gosh, I have really bad reception. Can you call me at this number? Da, 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 da. I called her back on her home phone.
Okay.
So she wasn't really hanging up on me. She was, because she knew that she wouldn't be able to finish the conversation. But just to take that extra little push, that was 6 hangups. And then I had an ISA that called a lady, left a really nasty note about how horrible she was on the phone. And my agent was like, wonder how she's doing. And she's like, oh my God, I had a great conversation with her. So when my ISA talked to her, there was something that they were trying to move into a different location and get their kids enrolled in school. And they were having difficulty getting their kids enrolled in school because of the timing of everything. And she caught her on a really bad day.
Okay.
And the lady actually apologized to my agent for how she acted with the ISA. So you never know what's going on in people's lives and when we're going to catch them. But if we don't be consistent, we're never going to have that opportunity. And yes, people aren't answering their phone as much as they are today, but I can guarantee you this. Out of those 31 or 34 people that were in that list, if you do 23 seconds, hang it up and go to the next, 23 seconds, hang it up and go to the next, I promise you, you're going to get a minimum of 2 phone calls back out of those 34.
Okay.
They're going to say, you just tried calling me, or I just missed a call from you. Oh yeah, I was just checking in. You've been looking for homes you were looking at some homes online and da da da. Just wondering what your situation is. So they don't have to answer the phone if you can create that call back. Because what's more annoying, right? And why I do the four rings, 23 seconds. If somebody doesn't answer their cell phone that quick, you're doing nothing but pissing them off, because it's like annoying, right? When you're trying to like shut your phone off in the middle of a meeting. But what happens if your phone goes, if it lights up, the number comes up and it's on for a second, you go to answer it and then it hangs up. Who the heck was that? So create the callbacks, play with it, do it for like 15 seconds instead of 23. You don't need them to answer the phone, so you can get to call back.
Right.
But I promise you, if you follow these filters and you keep them updated and you're moving your people properly and only tasking those that qualify for time on your calendar, 30 minutes a day. And some days, not even that much. Some days you'll come in here and go, wow, what do I do? It's only in 10 minutes.
Okay.
And so, again, make the time work for you that's convenient for your schedule, but just be mindful of not doing it the same time every day with the same leads. You can do it the same time every day, just not with the same leads.
Okay.
What's your biggest takeaway?
Be consistently calling and following up. Change the times. Do every day, maybe 30 minutes a day, and keep on moving the people in the filters.
Yeah. And just trust the filters work. As long as you're moving the people in the right status of the pipeline, marking their phone, everything else is automatic. Because everything else is recorded through the system whenever you make the calls and the call notes. And they're even them in being active. If they're looking at properties, they're automatically going to fall into that filter. So you don't have to think about anything else other than the people that you are legitimately setting the reminders for, because the people that you have a conversation with that you're tagging with their situation or why they would be buyer lost or a future opportunity, you're tagging them, you're putting them on the shelf to shop later. So those days when you have nothing to do, you're like, I wonder, you can pull your tag. So you can go up here. You can clear your filter. You can go here and say, I'm gonna work my tags today. Tag. I want the tag that has agent. Just want to pull, let me just see, right? You have 5 or 6 people in here. Some dashboards have 56 people in here. Some dashboards have 100 and some people in here. But then you can sort them by activity. Oh my gosh, I'm going to clear this just so we can look at it as an example. But you can look at this and say, wow, I talked to them yesterday-ish. Well, let's say last year. I talked to them last year and they were just in 5 hours ago. But they have an agent. Oh, I want to check in and see how their home search is going. So your tags can be your extra credit for those days when you're caught up with everything.
Right.
Tags will also allow you to direct your marketing or emails based on various situations, right? So if you want to reach out to all your investors or all your first-time buyers, any kind of newsletter information you're passing along is going to have a higher open and engagement rate if it's targeted towards that audience you're sending it to. Right? Somebody that's downsizing or an empty nester probably isn't a first-time buyer and needs to know all the perks and whatever of buying a home for the first time, right? So they're not interested in that content. Whereas somebody that is first-time buyer would, be interested in that content.
Right.
So I see, I just want to identify what was in the chat. Cynthia, she wants to know, what do you do with the people that are in a system 5 years ago, but never called them? They don't know that you haven't called them, I promise. They're in 5 other agents' dashboards. All your job is, Cynthia, I love those leads. Actually, there's so much opportunity in those, because those leads that have all been looking and just looking and just looking, you're going to get a lot of just purchase and a lot of I'm ready. So my approach to those are, hey, Cynthia, this is Beverly. Okay, this is a blast from the past. Quite a few years ago, you were looking at homes in da-da-da and just wonder, did you ever make that purchase or are you still in the market? That's it. Just start out with a little bit of a joke. Hey, it's a blast from the past. So then that way you're hitting that objection before it becomes the objection. You're already bringing their attention. Because I'm so tired of people like, who are you? Oh God, that was 100 years ago. No, really, it was just last year, but okay, 100 years ago, right? Yeah, so those are actually fun to call.
And they're actually a lot more willing to talk to you. Because if they haven't been active, they haven't been like contacted by 30 different realtors recently, just like a random sporadic call in the mix of things.
So right? I don't even shed light that I haven't called them. I haven't even shed light. They don't even know who I am when I call. Like, hey, this is Beverly. Beverly from where? Like, they don't know what company. They don't know what website. They don't know nothing. And frankly, they don't care. Because they know that they were online looking and we're just calling them out on it and just saying, hey. But yeah, those are your gold leads. I love going into databases that are old. So yeah, again, so it goes back to what I said before. It's so easy, it's complicated. It's so easy, it's difficult. Because we just try to make it more difficult than what it is. We overthink it.
Seems too simple to be true.
Yeah. So Priyanka, I'm expecting great things out of you this next week.
For sure. I'm going to do all the calls and follow-ups. And yes, it's really exciting to be in your webinars, Bevan. It gives you so much of, thrill and motivation and energy to do it. I will definitely make these phone calls.
Well, do whatever you need to do to be able to enjoy the process. And not be attached to that outcome.
Yeah,
because if we truly enjoy what we do, we lose time in it, right? We're like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Like just this last hour, I'm like, oh my God, this was an hour.
Yeah.
So you just do it without thought. You may meet your next best friend. And that's the way I always looked at my leads. You know, it's like I became such good friends and close friends, going to their weddings, going to the baby showers, right? It's like you really do create your future with the people that you end up communicating with, and you just never know who it's going to be.
Right.
So go find your next best friend.
Sure. I'll definitely try and, be not attached to the outcome. That is something I have to practice because
it's practice, right? It's just being aware of it, and it's reminding yourself, okay, I want to help these people have a good experience with their real estate transaction. That's my job.
Right. Okay.
Because if we give enough people what they want, what we want automatically returns.
Very true.
Well, thank you so much for letting us utilizing your dashboard today and taking the time with us.
Thank you so much, Bev, for digging in my database and give me so much pointers to work on. I appreciate
Work those filters. You got it.
Thank you so much, Crystal.
You're welcome.
Bye.
You're welcome. Thanks, everyone. See you in a couple weeks. Next week, couple weeks. All right.
Bye-bye.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.